At this time, we're going to begin the city council meeting. Everyone to please rise.
To the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
At this time, I would declare that citizen comment general is open. And again, if someone wants to speak to this plan, you have the opportunity to do so, or any other subject matter. Yes, please.
Hello, Heather Romansky, 297 Scotland Road, Chair of the Norwich Board of Education. I just wanted to stop in tonight during this, thank you. I have good stuff to say tonight, sorry.
Why? Okay.
Technical difficulties.
That's good, I can get it. It's been a day. So I'm still Heather Romansky, 297 Scotland Road, Chair of the Norwich Board of Education. And I wanted to speak just quickly tonight during the general public comment to provide you a brief update on a topic that we discussed during when we talked about the budget, passing the budget, I think it was maybe 2 months ago now. It was the topic or the discussion or the update I want to give you tonight is on that $1.2 million that was very unclear to all of us, Josh and Mr. Sierpinski and the board itself, on if that was going to come through to the city and then to the board or directly to the board. The superintendent, the business manager, and myself sat in the chambers that night and in good faith said that we would not overspend. And I just wanted to tell you how we're ensuring that that doesn't happen. You know that one of my things is transparency and fiscal responsibility, or those are two of my things. Mr. Sierpinski has taken that funding, that total dollar amount, and made it a complete separate line item in next year's budget. It won't be spent against until we know if it's coming to us from that direction or from through us through ECS. So we are committed to upholding the pledge that we made to you that night, and also know that Bob is diligently checking with the state every couple of weeks, or I don't know how often he's doing it. He's checking frequently. And there's still no final decision on that. So that is where that stands. And just one other little tidbit. I have no idea where I am in time. But the Stanton boiler has been a much discussed topic of conversation, how much it would cost. And I want you to know that that will be paid for in our operating budget and is coming in even lower than the original 5-something $100,000 we discussed. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else like to speak to council under general citizen comment? Please.
Good evening, Rodney Bowie, 62 Roosevelt Avenue. As many of you know, I'm a landlord here in the city of Norwich. Our policemen have discovered wokeness. I was called to one of the residences. 2 women were intensely ticked. One of the tenants sublet an apartment to a recalcitrant person. Anyways, this guy appeared on the porch. He was smoking a joint, which he says it's illegal now, and called both of these women, they're in their 50s and 55, 60 years old, crack whores and bitches. They were ticked off. They called a policeman. Policeman arrived on the scene. Does that sound like a tenant problem? Tenant-to-tenant problem. And basically fluffed it off. Now, I run across this. I own a building over in Taftville. And I noticed a person out on the lawn walking their dog. I never told them they could walk their dog. So I walked over there and said, ma'am, please don't walk your dog here. I said, kids play here and I don't like them picking that stuff up off. She looked at me, turned around, looked over at the house that they lived in, and man, all of a sudden I got this 300-pound person come storming across the way, says, yo, bitch, they want to walk that dog there, they can walk that dog there. They spit in my face. I called a couple policemen over, told them what went down. They marched their butts over there and talked for about 10 minutes, 15 minutes, and came back to me. Said, Mr. Boy, those women walk that dog on there again, you can have them arrested. I said, officer, if I spit in your face right now, what's the freight? Oh, he says, that's assault. I said, what's the difference between you and me? And by the way, I'm 80 years old. Anyways, I didn't get violent. I didn't curse anybody, didn't even raise my voice. Because, you know, I can reach in my pocket, call the right people, and expect them to do their job. Otherwise than that, I'd either slap them in the face or take out a gun and shoot them. Well, that's what you do when you don't have police. So, I'm not a forgetful person. About 2 or 3 days later, the sign was on the side of this person's house. I happened to notice it, called up the dealer, went up, put a purchase agreement on that, bought the house, made a condition of sale. Everybody's got to be out. But we got police that are supposed to do something about it. And if somebody spits in my face, rather than me take a gun and go hog wild, the police is supposed to say, ma'am, you're not supposed to do that, and sign a piece of paper and tell them they're naughty. Now, I don't feel like I am getting my full bore out of the police. I pay a good deal of taxes, about $60,000 a year here for different things. And I expect these people to toe the mark. I tried to get a hold of the chief, but that's totally, have you tried to call the police department lately? It's almost impossible to get through. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. And I'd like to speak to the council, please.
Hi, my name is Robin Vilches. I'm just going to take a quick commercial break to let Catherine Crees know that her wallet was left on the chair. I know she did leave, so I'm going to hand it to you.
She works, yeah. Thank you.
I was unable to speak earlier, but you'll see me the next meeting, okay?
You may speak to that issue right now if you wish.
Oh, I can't,
I would
okay. Well,
you
thank
can
you,
talk
Peter.
about any issue you wish, including that.
Okay, so, well, hi, you know you all seen me before, but I just want to say that the funds should go where they need to go. They need to go into neighborhoods that are most need. We need a community center. That is my biggest. I ran the Martin Luther King Community Center when we were just trying to turn it around, but unfortunately it did not, it decimated. So however, I need you all to put this money where this money needs to go, and that is in communities and a community center. And I will sit here and say it every single time. It doesn't need to go where everybody thinks it needs to go for all the rich and the wealthy. It needs to go where it needs to go, and that's for the Black and brown people, the Black and brown communities, and a community center for the Norge of New London County. And that's all I'm going to say for now, and I will speak again. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else like to address issues before the council? under general citizen comment.
Brian Kovalar, 16 Hobart Avenue. I returned only because I knew I was running out of time. The one thing that is very solid in all of the language of the uses that you can do is in things like water mains, sewage, etc. There are people within this city, some of whom I've spoken to in the last week, who have had drainage problems that they've been dealing with in that neighborhood for 40 years. This is an opportunity to fix that. This is an opportunity to use some portion of the funds towards the $164 million that it's going to cost us to fix the sewage plant. This is going to go a little ways toward maybe doing some of that separation of rainwater and sewage that is sitting on our shoulders like an albatross, and we keep pushing it downstream. That bill is going to come due within many of our lifetimes, maybe not mine, but certainly many of yours. And if this is a 1 year or 2 year shot, we need to take full advantage of that to make sure that the funds are used for the best future interests of the citizens of this city. Wouldn't have had time to say it in the 3 minutes before. Thank you.
Thank you. Please.
Good evening. I have lived in Norwich over 50 years, and I very rarely come to these meetings.
May we
But-
have your name and address, please?
My name is Judith Hersey,
Okay.
and I have lived here for over 50 years, and I have seen Norwich good days and falling apart. The money that we are getting for the city, I think we really need to look at what needs to be addressed and what could make money. As far as I look at it, I'm looking at things like the parking lot for Foxwoods, the old one. I don't know, I haven't called anybody to find out who owns that parking lot. I was heard Foxwoods does, but Foxwoods don't use it anymore. And it's just vacant, and it's just being used for a distributor right now. But so much things could be done with that parking lot. Things that could bring money back into Norwich, because I have seen things here and leave that were making money for the person that owned the business, like the movie theaters. We lost them. We lost things in Norwich that made, I don't know, retro to Norwich to bring money in. Couldn't you think something could be put in that place? Maybe a drive-in theater, make money, go back into Norwich? That money can go back into Norwich, that you're paying to go there, and it can go back into Norwich. And our city streets. I said it to a couple of people here after the meeting was over, down towards where I guess it was being told that there's going to be a school there, since the old Starwoods parking lot is vacant now, and I guess it's supposed to be made into a school maybe? No?
Not yet, no.
But
Sorry.
I don't know. I mean, that area alone is a danger zone for me. I had got out of the vehicle to try to rescue an animal to get it across the street, and the traffic that was coming the opposite way didn't even see me in the road because they were going so fast. And if it takes an accident before something is fixed in Norwich, why is that got to be? I mean, the light blinking stop signs that are over by the bridge, down past where Philly's Steak is and down there towards the river, they put stop signs on each side now so that everybody's got to stop because everybody took their own turn and there was accidents. Maybe a crosswalk needs to be put there because of the new store that was put in, because you got people that got family and kids. They're not going to want to walk all the way up to that light where the crosswalk is to cross the road and walk all the way back down. They walk directly across in that dark area. And you only have that billboard that is the light and one overhead light from that store. And, you know, kids, they daggle behind you, you know what I mean? They don't come right with you. You're always telling your kids, go on, let's go, and here's the mom with the carriage. And what is it gonna take? A kid get hit? You know, because that store stays open until 8 or 9 o'clock at night. So, that might be ideas, maybe. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Anyone else? Yes, please.
Good evening, Sheila Hayes, 382 Lower Hill Avenue. I'd like to speak about a couple of issues, starting off one with the American Rescue Plan money. My first one is really a question, because I really don't have a good understanding, and this might be to the city manager, through Leanne Gomes, or through you, Mayor, to the city manager. The rental and utilities assistance money that is being identified in the American Rescue, in the Norwich money, how is that different than Unite CT giving rental and utility assistance to renters? Every time I read it, when you presented it tonight, it appeared to be a duplication of services, but then I said there could be something else that I don't understand. So that's one of the questions that I have. The second one is not so much a question, it's just that I do agree with Mr. Kovalars about our small businesses. I do remember, and maybe it was a little over a year ago, with the PPE, personal protection payroll money, and the financial institutions that came through and said how great and wonderful that they were doing in supporting our businesses in the city. And yet, when we went and talked to the small business in the city, many of them did not receive a penny of that money. I know I had worked with and talked to at least 9 different small businesses. Some were minority-owned businesses, some were women-owned businesses. One was a male-owned business, and believe it or not, of the 9, the only one that got the PPP money that I was aware of was the male-owned business that had been in the city for 30 years. And the startups and the ones that were less than 5 years received no money. So I am concerned that there is, money has not been identified for small businesses, and yet you want to identify putting a large amount of money into large vanilla box when we have small businesses that are hurting. That just confuses me as well. The things I do support, which obviously are, I support the arts, I support money going to the youth for the recreation, our facilities that embrace and benefit families, children, seniors, everyone, whether it's through recreation, whether it's through tourism in the city. But my concern is that I don't know if a comprehensive evaluation has been made of the city as a whole. And I guess my frustration is, even tonight, I tend to hear that we keep segmenting. We keep identifying specific areas of the city to say this area, whether it's West Side, whether it's Greenville, whether it's Greenville for the Habitat for Humanities. Why just Greenville? There are other neighborhoods in the city. There are other locations in the city. When do we look and say, how do we have a comprehensive plan that is going to benefit the entire city and not just one section of the city over and over and over again? Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else like to speak on the general citizen comment? Anyone else like to speak under general citizen comment? Anyone else like to speak under general citizen comment? Seeing no one else, I then declare it closed. Thank you all for sharing your concerns.
Second reading and action on below ordinance previously presented. An ordinance amending zoning regulations sections 2.2, summary of uses by district, and zoning regulations section 2.5, planned commercial district, PC principles, uses, and activities in the PC zone, and the Norwich Code of Ordinances.
Thank you. At this time, I'd entertain a motion to put this on the floor. Alderman Nash, second by Alderwoman Gould. Is there a discussion? Seeing no discussion, can we have a roll call, please?
Alderwoman Miles?
Yes.
Alderwoman Gould?
Yes.
Alderman Nash?
Yes.
Alderman Bettencourt?
Yes.
Mayor Nystrom?
Yes. Motion passes 5-0.
Public hearing, an ordinance amending Article 6 of Chapter 21 of the Norwich Code of Ordinances by adding sections 21-135, 21-136, and 21-137 relative to the extension of a water main and other improvements to service properties in the city of Norwich, including but not limited to properties within the Countryside Drive Association, and provisions for laying of assessments, entering into written agreements regarding such improvements, and the payment, collection, and assessment liens regarding the same.
Thank you. I declare this public hearing to be open. At this time, I would invite members of the public who would like to speak in favor of this ordinance. Please identify your name and address at the podium. 3 minutes, please. Yes, sir.
Hey, good evening. Mark Perkins, 81 Lawler Lane. So I am the chief operator for the system known as Countryside Drive. I'm also a member of the board of directors. Just to give some quick history, Countryside Drive is actually a neighborhood in the north end of Norwich, built in the 1950s, and the 22 original homes were serviced by a community well. Then in 1984, we acquired the system, formed a dues-paying homeowner association, and the system then became a Connecticut public water system, therefore subject to all the Connecticut DHP rules, regulations, and testing schedules. And this is essentially the same expensive rigor that NPU and other large systems must follow today. So we spend a fortune on testing and very strict regulations. So if we fast forward to 2019, our pump blew out. Our tanks are now 30 years old. Our distribution system, which is made of asbestos cement pipe, approximately 70 years of age. We don't have a backup well, we don't have backup power, nor do we have a tightly secured fenced pump area. So after we did replace our pump in 2019, our board of directors and the members decided to end operations and work with NPU to convert to city water. So the council originally approved this on 3/16/2020, and if we fast forward to tonight, we just have to, we have a fully non-taxpayer funded plan at hand, and there's only this last ordinance to approve. I think reading the ordinance, it looks like it tightens up language already approved. Just to answer a couple of talk points. Boy, it's hard to talk with a mask on, I'll tell you. So there's 17 homes is struck out. The reason for this is one homeowner really wants to drill his own well. He's going to have to work with Uncas Health to square that away, but we don't want that holding up the project. Costs have risen. Well, ductile steel pipe is up 38%, polyethylene pipe products are up more than 20%, and fuel and labor costs are up as well. And there's there's a clause for $2,800, which would be the assessment for each household. And the reason that the number went up, it went down, but the reason it stayed at $2,800 is because we have a group home, we have 2 households on disability, 2 are retired widows, 4 people are retired, 4 households are retired on a fixed income, and 8 of those households are actually wage earners. So this is a very good project. It's public health, it's infrastructure, and it's just a win all the way around. So thank you.
Thank you, sir. I'd just like to speak in support of the ordinance as proposed. Anyone else like to speak in support of the ordinance as proposed? Anyone else like to speak in support of the ordinance as proposed? Okay, is there anyone then would like to speak in opposition to this ordinance as proposed? Anyone here would like to speak in opposition? Again, anyone like to speak in opposition in this ordinance as proposed? Seeing no one else, I then declare this hearing closed. Thank you.
Second reading and action on the above ordinance previously presented.
I entertain a motion, please. Again, bring this forward. Alderman Gould, second Alderwoman Miles. Is there discussion? Yeah.
An ordinance.
Sorry, she hasn't read the title.
Excuse me.
My apologies.
An ordinance amending Article 6 of Chapter 21 of the Norwich Code of Ordinances by adding sections 21-135, 21-136, and 21-137 relative to the extension of a water main and other improvements to service properties in the city of Norwich, including but not limited to the properties within the Countryside Drive Association, and provisions for the laying of assessments, entering into written agreements regarding such improvements, and the payment, collection, and assessment liens regarding the same.
Thank you. Again, Alderwoman Gould and Alderwoman Miles, you still maintain your, okay,
Yes.
thank you. Motion made by Alderwoman Gould, second by Alderwoman Miles. Is there discussion? Seeing none, roll call, please.
Alderwoman Miles?
Yes.
Alderwoman Gould?
Yes.
Alderman Nash?
Yes.
Alderman Bettencourt?
Yes.
Mayor Nystrom?
Yes. Motion passes 5-0. The ordinance is adopted.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, sir.
I just want to point out that on the agenda, we didn't have the place for the city manager's report, which would be after this vote.
Thank you.
City Manager's report.
We need to amend it. Amend the agenda. Okay. At this time, I'd ask for suspension of our rules to amend this agenda. Is there a motion? Alderman Bettencourt, second by Alderman Nash. Motion on suspension. Roll call, please.
Alderwoman Miles?
Yes.
Alderwoman Gould?
Yes.
Alderman Nash?
Yes.
Alderman Bettencourt?
Yes.
Mayor Nystrom?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Motion on suspension passes. Entertain a motion to add to our agenda the city manager's report. Alderman Nash, second Alderwoman Miles. Is there discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
It's unanimous.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Good job.
Okay, thank you for adding it. This is the city manager's report for August 16th, 2021. Meetings intended including state representatives and legislators, Southeastern Council of Governments, Region 4 Emergency Plan, NPU City Coordination Meeting, Fire Chiefs, and Public Safety. I also met with the project managers for the American Rescue Plan to coordinate and advise them of the informational presentations for August 17th and August 30th in council chambers. The city received the Live United Award for community collaboration from the United Way at the event held at the Mohegan Sun, August 12th. The city received the award based on our involvement with food drives, hosting the Tommy Toy Collection, and increased donations. Thank you to Leanne Gomes, Director of Human Services, who was the campaign co-chair, and Mayor Peter Nystrom for spearheading the food drives that were held in the memory of Jason Vincent, and to all volunteers and contributors. The Recreation Department Summer Day Camp has had record numbers of children this summer and ends on August 20th. Our youth have experienced sports, enrichment, positive youth development, and field trips. Registration is still open for basketball camp, which will be held August 23rd through the 27th. Details are on the city's website at norwich.org. The Spalding Pond Beach will be closing on Tuesday, August 24th. After a great season, steady turnout throughout the summer. The fall brochure guide will be out at the end of August with programs starting the week of September 20th. Ray Allen Bergman from Youth and Family Services collaborated with the Eastern Connecticut Prevention Coalition to create a film about youth substance and risky behaviors. The film, called Exposed, What Every Parent of Teens Should Know to Prevent Risky Behaviors, will be a Facebook Live event on Wednesday, August 18th at 6 p.m. and include a follow-up discussion to answer questions and provide resources. A registration link on the city and the Norwich Prevention Council's Facebook. Uncas Falls was featured in a Bronx News broadcast on August 5th called Explore Eastern Connecticut's Shantucket River Water Trail. It highlighted the 22-mile scenic river that is part of the National Heritage Corridor with its waterfalls and dams. A link has been posted on the city's Facebook page. Thank you to Griffith Hospital, who administered 55 COVID-19 vaccines during the 5 days that they were at City Hall during tax time in July. Construction work will begin at North Main Street and Roosevelt Avenue this week. NPU and contractor crews, in partnership with Providence and Worcester Railroad, will be replacing a water main. This project will require a 2-week alternate traffic pattern and 4-day closure. The 8th Street Bridge will be completely closed to all traffic from North Main Street to Roosevelt Avenue from August 19th through the 23rd. Detour signs and traffic patterns will be in place and posted on the website. Attached is the fire chief's report that I presented at the August public safety meeting. And that concludes my report for this evening.
Thank you. Are there questions of the city manager? Alderman Nash.
I just want to say, I was on the public safety, but I was on the phone, and I could not hear any of the speakers and stuff that night, and I do apologize for not being able to make the last couple because of work obligations. I just want to have a quick question, City Manager. It said that during your report you had the discussion of future equipment purchases for fire apparatus and that kind of stuff. Also, in the report there was a discussion on scaling back some of the trucks, and that some trucks were actually identified. Is there a chance that the next meeting you can maybe discuss what we're doing with that recommendation and where we're going in that direction? I have no problem purchasing equipment, as anyone knows, because everyone says, you know, Bill Nash never spent a fire truck he didn't like, but I'd like to know what we're going to do with the ones the report recognized as needing to be taken out of service.
I think the chiefs recognize that there has to be a reorganization of the purchasing procedure. That's what they'll be working on. And in that will be an orderly retirement of vehicles that would no longer be needed. That will be in conjunction with how they dispatch future incidents and run cards. You can't just take the equipment out without alternating how departments will respond to fire, so it'll be coordinated with that.
Oh, I understand.
Yeah,
I
no,
just
I
want
know.
to,
I'm
just so
just
that it's
wanted to-
reflected in the record that it's something that has been
I get
discussed.
it.
So,
Okay.
you know, there's certain elements that pull on us.
Yes, there are.
Yes, sir. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Other questions? I would just remind the general public there are 2 more food drives at 80 Stonington Road, the parking lot owned by the Massachusetts Nation, August 23rd and August 30th. And we are still in discussions with United Way, Connecticut Food Bank, the city, about restructuring and recreating another food drive in our community in this region going forward into the fall. But those discussions have not been completed. Thank you.
Citizen comments on resolutions on agenda items only.
Thank you. I declare citizen comment on resolutions to be open and invite anyone who'd like to speak to one of the 3 resolutions on the agenda at this time. Please.
Heather Romansky, 297 Scotland Road, resolution number 3. As many of you know, I'm the chair of the Board of Education, and I'm a member of the City Council's ad hoc committee as well. And I'm here tonight to ask you to support resolution number 3. This is for the non-lapsing account that was created in an ordinance passed on June 21st of this year. The Board of Ed is expecting to have a surplus, and recently, at the direction of the Board of Ed, Superintendent Stringfellow formally requested that 2% of that surplus be deposited into that non-lapsing account. The creation of the fund allows the board a means to cover capital improvement projects, unanticipated special ed expenses that might occur during an academic year, and other expenses that are clearly defined in the Connecticut state statute. These funds cannot be spent without Board of Ed approval, so it is not without oversight. The board, in collaboration with Dr. Stringfellow and Bob Serpinski, our business manager, and your partnership, we are working to and are having success in turning the financial landscape of Norwich Public Schools around. We have more work to do, but we have made gains. I'm going to say that Bob Serpinski, our business manager, is my wingman tonight, and he is here in the event that you have specific budget dollar questions, or Bob is happy to answer those for you. And I just would like to take an opportunity to thank you all for supporting this really innovative approach to financial management. We have come a long way, so thank you.
Thank you. So anyone else like to speak under citizen comment? Anyone else like to speak under citizen comment on the agenda items? Is there anyone like to speak under citizen comment on agenda items? Seeing no one else, I declare it closed and thank you all.
New business resolutions. Relative to enter into an agreement with the Connecticut Port Authority relating to Howard Brown Park / Harbor Project.
Entertain a motion, please. Bring this forward. Alderwoman Ella Miles and Alderman Gould. Is there discussion? Alderman Bettencourt, I'm sorry.
Just going to say that, this is obviously something that's been discussed at the Harbor Management Commission, and that we certainly want to support where this money is going, as far as improvements around Howard Brown Park, particularly the docks that are there. Those will certainly make significant improvements and things that are currently in decline. So I would urge support for this resolution.
Thank you. Is there further discussion? Roll call, please.
Okay, Alderwoman Miles?
Yes.
Alderwoman Gould?
Yes.
Alderman Nash?
Yes.
Alderman Bettencourt?
Yes.
And Mayor Nystrom.
Yes. The resolution is adopted 5-0.
Relative to reappointments to Inland Wetlands, Watercourses, and Conservation Commission.
Motion, please, to bring this forward. Alderman Nash, second Alderwoman Ella Miles. Is there discussion? For members of the public, the 2 persons being reappointed as regular members are Richard Morrell and Douglas Lee. Roll call, please.
Alderwoman Miles?
Yes.
Alderwoman Gould?
Yes.
Alderman Nash?
Yes.
Alderman Bettencourt?
Yes.
Mayor Nystrom?
Yes. Motion passes 5-0.
Relative to deposit of unexpended education funds of fiscal year 2021, general fund budget into the non-lapsing account for unexpended education funds.
Motion, please, to bring this forward. Alderman Nash, second Alderman Gould. Is there discussion? Alderman Gould?
The business manager for the Board of Education could come to the podium, please. Good evening. Thank you for being here. What is the total amount of money that is not being expended?
Well, at this time, we're showing a surplus of $3,582,000. We're still in the process of closing the year. It's taking longer than expected, but we have to be done with that for year-end state reporting, which is due September 1st, and for our audit. As you know, our budget was $84,240,102. So if the council were to grant the request and deposit 2%, that would be $1,684,802. There will be some changes to the balance as we close the year. Some adjustments might make it increase, some might cause it to decrease, but I don't think it would be significant. So if that $1.6 million were to be deposited, that would leave a remaining balance of $1,897,198 left. Myself and Dr. Stringfellow have been in contact with the city manager and Josh Parthier, your controller. We've had ongoing discussions as far as what the best use of the remaining funds would be for the city and for the Board of Education. Those discussions would continue. Options would be to further fund the health fund, which is one need, but Josh would have far more expertise than John would as far as how that would work with the city. So I don't think there's any danger of not having the 2%, and it would leave almost $2 million left over.
Okay, but thank you for that. So the discussion is ongoing as to what to do with that $2 million or
Right, but
$1.9
that's up to
million
pretty much up to the city
surplus.
to decide.
Okay. And do you have an idea when that will be finalized?
Well, we would be finalized with our process, obviously, before the end of August. I'm hoping that has to be done within a week because I have state grant reporting to do. And as with any municipality, your audit is conducted and auditors always find adjustments up and down. So that number would be like wet cement.
Right, no, I understand it's fluid.
So that does also include outstanding encumbrances on items that have not yet come in. And as the board chair indicated, that does include paying for the entire boiler project at Stanton. So that is part of the operating expenses that have already been incurred.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Just a question.
Sure.
This is the last meeting prior to September 1. Is that the reason why this was submitted, to assist you in closing?
Yes, I believe it is 60 days for the superintendent to make the request from June 30th. This happens in almost every municipality, and the request is usually worded up to the 2% depending on the outcome.
So if the vote took place after September 1, that messes things up?
Well, I'd leave that for the attorney, but the request has to be made.
Got it. Okay.
To the council to do that.
Okay, thank you. Other questions of Mr. Sapensky? Thank you very much for being here. Is there further comment on the resolution? Alderman Bettencourt.
I'm going to say that obviously this is, for me personally, this is something I support because for me this always made sense that, because the Board of Ed budget generally has never included any kind of capital planning, and that's been I think been a real problem. This in particular would at least give us some opportunity to have some flexibility where than not necessarily have to come back to the city from the general fund to cover any other additional expenditures. For instance, I mean, they mentioned the special ed costs that, can fluctuate greatly either way sometimes. Also, obviously, we're going to be looking for other funds as we move forward, and possibly looking at a building, school building program. So there are things that some of these funds could definitely be allocated for that would go along with the education piece, but this is definitely a good start. Obviously, there's limits to this fund. I mean, and let's face it, this is probably a once in a generational kind of thing. I would tend to doubt that we'll have this kind of opportunity next year. It would surprise me greatly if we did. So I would urge people to support it because it just kind of makes sense. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there further discussion? If I may, Mr. Saprinsky, call you back one more question. I apologize to you. But the dialogue that just took place,
It's a short walk, so that's.
have you identified all special ed costs for this fiscal year?
Yeah, for the current year there's about $75,000 remaining in encumbered items, and the special ed department is working through to see if those will in fact become real expenses or increase the surplus even larger.
All right. Thank you. Thank you very much. If there's no further comment, call please.
Alderwoman Miles?
Yes.
Alderwoman Gould?
Yes.
Alderman Nash?
Yes.
Alderman Bettencourt?
Yes.
Mayor Nystrom?
Yes. The motion passes 5-0.
New business ordinance. An ordinance amending portions of Article 6 of Chapter 7 of the Code of Ordinances, modifying pension funding policies and establishing a general obligation pension bonds reserve fund.
At this time, I would ask for a motion to raise this and schedule, no, we've already had the public hearing. Or is this an amended version? It's a different one. Then it's brand new. Okay, thank you. At this time, I'd ask for a motion to raise this for public hearing, to waive the full text of the reading at this time, and that the next council meeting, the public hearing be held on September 7th. There was some concern about Rosh Hashanah, but that has been cleared. So the meeting can take place September 7th. Is there such a motion? Alderwoman Ella Miles, Alderwoman Gould. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. That motion passes 5-0.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Motion to adjourn by Alderwoman Gould, second by Alderman Bill Nash. All those in favor of adjournment?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes.